Welcome to another edition of The Mexican Show. It's another edition of Monday Night Football here, presented by Food Mex Nation. All right, welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm Wiesel from Food Mex Nation. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican football. An hour-long podcast. We'll stay to an hour, making sure that everyone is following on YouTube already, jumping in. We have lots and lots and lots to talk about. Liga MX, I think, heard me last week when I said it was getting boring, the games aren't exciting. And all of a sudden, we have a record number of goals, every team scoring, hat tricks go here and there. We have a great Clasico Tapatio. We have Santos coming in, looking for a win with Cruz Azul. Cruz Azul winning. Lots and lots of exciting stuff in Liga MX. Europeos have started. Raúl Jiménez scoring. Chicharito's on its way. Lots of great stuff happening with Europeos. Great news coming in from the Chivas camp, as one of the players is now in Italy. Also, El Tri making news starting in probably around 4 or 5 days, when we'll hear a list come out of players. We might have some controversy here or there, but we'll tell you all about it here on this edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. But first, before we begin, let's talk to our experts, los que saben todo de Liga MX, del fútbol mexicano. I'll go. I'll even wait till the beautiful ending of this song. It's coming, it's coming. We got to respect el son de la negra. But we're going to have a lot of fun. Primero, Mr. Tom Marshall in Guadalajara. Dude, I've heard this song a lot when I was in Guadalajara. Tom, how are you, sir?
I am not bad. Yeah, all good. Exciting weekend of action, and you know, finally a transfer from the Liga MX to Europe with Carlos Salcedo. So exciting times. Exciting
times for sure. I was a guest of Tom's home one more time, where I got to be in Guadalajara over the weekend. If you obviously were following Food Mex Nation, thank you, Mr. Tom Marshall, for allowing me to stay in your pad and be a guest of yours. So always great to hang out with the great Tom Marshall over the 38 hours I was away from home. It was such a fast trip. Mr. Naim Moran, don't get so jealous, because I'll be come visiting you this weekend and hang out with you, sir. This new Clasico, but how's it going? Exciting weekend, lots of stuff to talk about. ¿Cómo estás, amigo?
Buenas noches, Wiso. Buenas noches, Tom, and also the audience. Yeah, like you said, I mean, I think it was an exciting week. 40 goals were scored in week six of Liga MX. Cruz Azul got its first win. León got its first win of the season. And, yeah, I mean, also the Clasico Tapatio was interesting, because at the end of the final whistle, there were 19 Mexican players on the pitch. 19 out of the 22. That's kind of special, I think. You know, of course, Chivas.
Well, Chivas was playing.
Yeah. But a team like Atlas with, 8 players that are Mexican, I think that's a good sign.
It might be the record number of Mexicans this whole season playing.
Could be. It could become.
Probably will be. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think Atlas these days are really, I think they're trying to go back to basics in the centennial year, and I think that's the idea, to kind of promote the young players again, and get back to what they used to do. So I think I mean, it's good to see them both doing okay as well. You know what I mean? They're both not at the bottom of the league playing with Mexicans. Yeah. They're actually challenging, and they're taking on the clubs that are majority foreigners now, and doing it with some dignity, really.
Definitely top 8. Atlas is in there. Chivas is still fighting, and we're coming. Let's go right into it. Liga MX. I want to hear your moment for the weekend. Liga MX highlight. What was it for you? I think I have an idea. It might be about 3 goals. But what for both of you? Liga MX highlight. Go.
Go, Naive.
No, I would have to say. I would say Pachuca Tigres. There was a lot of goals there, and I think Tigres made a statement, by beating Pachuca. That is missing. I think Pachuca will miss Rodolfo Pizarro in the next weeks, because I think Pizarro was doing great in the midfield, being sort of a game changer in the final third. They have Chucky, they have They have Gutierrez there, but I think Pizarro's a main part of that offense. But the Tigres attack is clicking. 2 goals for Ismael Sosa, 2 goals for Gignac. So a good day for Tigres.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same. I mean, it's a bit boring, but yeah, I mean, I just think I say this because I think it was a quality game. It wasn't just the fact there was 4-2 and there's 6 goals. Because in other games this week there was a lot of goals, but I didn't feel there was much quality. Whereas I felt Tigres Pachuca had a high scoreline because there was so much quality on the pitch. And I mean, I know we talk about Gignac a lot, but I mean, unbelievable. Scores 2, sets up 1, and cuidado all the rest of the teams, because this little understanding that he's now got with Ismael Sosa is scary. I mean, if those two can get it click, arguably the best 2 players last season in the league. I know that's up for debate, but 2 of the best players in the league last season, and they're on the same team now. So unbelievable. And then the other game, just pick out quickly. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about the Clasico Tapatio, but I mean, Pumas Monterrey. Still don't know what happened. I mean, Pumas have been so blunt and boring and kind of like, methodical, and then all of a sudden it's like 4-0 in like 30 minutes, and you're like, where did that come from? I mean, obviously Monterrey's defense were to blame to a large degree, but I mean, 5-3 Pumas against Monterrey. Nobody predicted that. So, maybe Paco Palencia. We talk a lot about where's the next Mexican coach, who's gonna do big things, and I don't know. It's very, very early for Palencia, but I mean, scoring 5 goals and beating Monterrey is a decent start.
A good step, and it's a good step for Pumas at home. I think at home they've been really strong. The 12 p.m. We always talk about the 12 p.m. slot, and how that affects the turnout of the game. And I think Pumas uses it at its advantage. I think when northern teams come to Mexico, they have to have a great preparation. I think if they don't adequately prepare for this match, they will suffer. And I think Monterrey didn't prepare adequately for this one, and they saw the consequences. It's early, like you said, Tom. It's early, but a good sign from Pumas.
For my highlight of the weekend, I'm going to have to go with Matias Britos. I like to call him Alan. Just freaking Alan Britos. Mr. Britos is the hat trick. I mean, coming out of nowhere, and then looking back at it, Monterrey could have come back and tied the game if it wasn't for a couple of misses, benching its star player Lalo Herrera, and Britos coming in there and saying that obviously he can do it. I thought it was an exciting game going back and forth, just seeing all the score lines 1, 2, 3. For me, that, and then obviously the Clasico Tapatio, got a chance to witness that. It did not disappoint. So let's go ahead and talk about that. It's our uno de los nacionales de parte de Mexico, where we kind of hear that these Clásicos are, they don't compete with other games. They don't, there are better games out there, but we circled this one on the calendar for sure. For Food Mex Nation was able to attend, and it didn't disappoint. Although there was some sloppy play, the rain kind of tried to spoil the party. 2-2, where we saw both teams, kind of at the end almost had the chance also to win the game. It wasn't. So let's go there. Your reactions en este clásico que usualmente se queda kind of de deber, but this time it didn't disappoint.
No, good game. It was difficult. It was because of the conditions. I mean, the amount it rained when I was driving to the stadium is honestly like a river. I honestly thought my car was just gonna start floating, and I was struggling to get there. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a good game. It was an exciting game. I don't think there was a lot of quality. I think both teams, especially Chivas has struggled to score this season, and I thought Atlas kind of gifted him a couple of goals by Herrero making a mistake for Zaldivar's first one, and then obviously the penalty for the second. But yeah, no, I mean.
Is Saldivar the new trophies, Tom?
Pardon?
Is Saldivar the new trophies?
No trophies.
Actually, trophies look really good. I thought he looked good.
I thought he was okay. Yeah, I thought he was okay.
Normally when we see trophies, but I thought he looked good. Almost that 10 roll.
No, yeah, he's a good player. I mean, he is a good player. It's just he needs to do it consistently. Mm-hmm. He needs to play well for a year. I mean, not just a couple of amazing goals. I mean, he has to keep doing it week in, week out. And yeah, no, we need to see how Joffis develops. I think Zaldivar, I'm really happy for him. the Chivas striker, because he's come under a lot of criticism for his lack of goals this season, and now he scored 3 in 2 games. So he works so hard for the team. I think he's good with his back to goal. I think he brings others into play, and now it's the icing on the cake. The 2 goals. So it's good to see, and absolutely huge for Chivas, because up front the other option really is Marco Bueno. There's nobody dependable there after Omar Bravo left. So yeah, from the Atlas point of view, I think it's still looking good. I mean, I think Atlas could have won that game.
Yeah.
I mean, what can you say? It seems as though Profe Cruz has got his team working how he wants them to work. I thought the reason the game was exciting this time around was because Atlas went for Chivas as well. I mean, they weren't just sat back. You know what I mean? So yeah, and Candido Ramirez. I mean, you can see what Osorio sees in him when you see him live, and you see the pace that he has and the directness. He definitely has something, Candido Ramirez.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, something that we saw with Atlas, and like that you mentioned it, kind of going back to its roots, going back to that cantera that we saw in the 90s, of what brought those Atlas players coming by. And I'm liking to see that. I got a chance to see some of the Atlas under 20, under 17 playing strong. I mean, I don't think I've ever watched this, us under 20 in that training facility in Verde Valle and Chivas, and these guys are going full strong, straight out. I mean, there were some cards. It was great, and what I like seeing is Profe Cruz at that game. I mean, anyone could attend that game in Guadalajara, and Profe Cruz is there watching his players, the young players. So there's that connections of trying to get that cantera and establishing that. So it did not disappoint Atlas and Chivas, which sometimes, like we said, ese tipo de clásico where it's hyped up, although the rain tried to spoil it. Naive, to you, Atlas now in the top 8 from what we've seen. If I know we make fun of Cruz Azul for not giving the fan base maybe a title, but Atlas is I mean, if you want to talk about someone suffering, and is Atlas only winning 1 championship, but Atlas seeing on the rise.
Yeah, I mean, I think what is interesting in Atlas as well is the role or in the responsibility from Rafael Marquez. And I think we saw it in the Clásico Tapatio how much he feels those colors. I mean, I think he represents a lot for the club, and it's a huge boost for the young players to play alongside him, in these coming weeks. If Matosas already did it in León with Rafael Marquez, making him into the leader and sort of making him the responsible of the perfection of the team and how it works. Well, Atlas kind of is trying to do the same, but of course, it doesn't have the Bosellis, it doesn't have the Chapitos. It has young players like Candido, like Alvarez, Barragan, who scored the goal. Flavio Santos, who was in Puebla lots of years, and now he's back in Atlas and he's playing well. There's a Robles, I think, is another one. So I mean, it's an interesting mixture. And if all the players come together, I mean, Profe Cruz did wonders at a team like Atlante that really didn't have that much stars. So I think now he actually has one heck of a leader like Rafael Marquez, and if he can use that to his advantage, Atlas could do could battle for a place in the Liguilla, no doubt.
Well, good to see, especially that going back, something happened here. Tom, what's going on around the league again, especially, where we're seeing America coming back. It's a tie. Not a lot of people had that tie, but to you, what's the other highlight of the weekend if we're trying to see, and into kind of going into El Tri kind of coming in, and the players that are going to be called up, as far as any standout other players around the Liga MX that are doing things well?
I mean, there's some options. I mean, I think if I was to pick one player, I'd say Obilin Pineda. I think he's going to get a chance. And I say that because he missed out on the Olympics. I'm pretty sure that was down to Chivas, some pressure from Chivas. So I think Pineda's done enough. I think he's the type of player that Juan Carlos Osorio will like. And, it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he's in the team. Looking around who else, it's difficult. It is honestly difficult because, you look at the Tigres Pachuca game and there was a lot of players on show there. Irving Lozano, is he going to be in? you'd assume so, but then there's an argument that said, why not leave him out of this game? You know what I mean? He's already had a really busy summer. You know, Eric Gutierrez, I think the time is now for him. You know, even Burrito Hernandez from Pachuca, has he done enough? Raul Lopez, you know, Jurgen Damm, he's struggled so far this season with injury and stuff to get him with Tigres. Aquino's playing pretty good. Israel Jimenez, you know, we forget about him. You know, is he due back? Hugo Ayala's now injury free, so you know, I think all of these will be in the mix. But I don't know. What do you reckon, Abe?
I mean, I think when I see the upcoming list, you know, it's sort of thinking how Osorio wants to take these games specifically. It's like, does he want to use this time to sort of reflect on what happened in the summer? You know, so bring all those players that were involved in the Copa America Centenario and say, like, you know, what went wrong, what went right. You know, there was some positive to take out from it. You know, so it depends on the direction that Osorio wants to take this club. You know, it's a club that it's already sort of like, El Tri is already qualified to the hexagonal, but you know, it's free time that he could use, because once November comes along and all those other months, you gotta be ready because the challenges will come ahead. Surprises. I mean, if I had to give a different name to what Tom already said, maybe Chepe Guerrero from America, because I think this is a guy that's a consistent starter at a club like America, can play in a 4-4-2, can play in a 5-3-2 quite well, you know, as a central defensive midfielder, and it's a good opportunity to take a look at him, you know, see what he does. He's from the same generation as Chicharito, as Giovanni, as Vela, and I think he could be a surprise, a wild card, I would say, a really, really strange wild card, but it's one player that I put out there.
Well, there it is. A little preview of El Tri. We're going to be talking a little bit more before we finish our Liga MX segment. But let's go and talk around the league of what's happening. A lot of goals that were scored. Let's talk specifically about America in the Sambuesa situation, you know, coming in. Naive, you're there. What are we seeing with this team that's not making a lot of news stories but are hanging in there, not towards the top, but definitely making a statement of being one of the best en Liga MX? ¿Qué nos puedes decir? Y del América en el DF.
Del América, I mean, it's two consecutive back-to-back, you know, basically two draws, one against Morelia, who I think has been one of the revelations in a new season, Morelia, and then Puebla. I think the goals that America gave to Puebla were a bit strange. You know, the header to Hobbit Bermudez, that shouldn't happen. That's really strange to do. And when you have three center backs, that's just a warning there. I think overall this sort of system, the 5-3-2 that Ambriz wants to use, sort of like what Piojo used in the past, it is working. The chances are coming. It's just the fact that they're missing a lot of chances. Quintero's not at a fine moment right now in the last 3 weeks, I would say. You know, Silvio Romero as well. The support from the left flank is not that strong, you know, with Osmar Mares. I think they're missing Miguel Zamudio, the Paraguayan. I think Zamudio would be great as a left wing back, not Mares. Mares is more comfortable in defending, I would say. But the Sambuesa red card, it does bring out debate. I mean, I think everyone has their own opinion. After the match, Osvaldo Martinez told the press that Escudero told him that, you know, esto es para los vivos, that, you know, you have to be awake here. You have to make the play look like, exaggerate the play, basically. I think that's what Escudero did. When you see the replay, when you see it alive, you think it was a plancha, that it was a hard tackle. But then when you see the replay, you see that Escudero picked himself up right away and then walked away. Unfortunately for Puebla, minutes later, Schmid got the red card, so they really weren't at advantage at nowhere during the match. It was 10 versus 10 the match. You know, so it is. I think Osvaldito's declarations after the match played a role in the decision to annul or to take away this red card for Sambuesa.
Yeah, I mean, the significance of it is that he can now play in the Clásico Nacional El Sábado, no? Which is massive for America. I mean, it is absolutely huge. I mean, I think what I've heard is that America are actually peeling the first yellow card, which I believe was a tackle on Edgar Dueñas in the first half. I think we have to factor in that. But if we look at the second one, I mean, I don't. The thing that I think about this is imagine if America got away with this, and they overturned the red card. I think every club has the incentive now to just, appeal so many yellow cards because there are so many debatable decisions. You know what I mean?
Every club isn't Televisa, though, Tom.
No, but I mean, the
only 3 of them are.
But you can't. I mean, is that the way it's going to go now? You know what I mean? We're going to get a lot of appeals. We're going to get a lot of red cards, being taken back for this and that. I mean, it's a very delicate situation.
If there are appeals and if it's wrong, if they can go back and take it off, wouldn't that be okay? I mean, if they're going back and they're seeing that almost like a very delayed instant replay, and if it does cause for disciplinary action, there could be motions to be filed, and the Liga MX can say, nope, sorry, we're going to keep it, or we're not going to keep it. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with that if that's what the teams are going to be doing. They're just going to be a little more busier in the Liga MX during the week and saying yes or no.
Quite now would be there, but I mean, obviously the right to go back, but it's when it's like a fine decision like that. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, other clubs are going to be upset about it if their decision doesn't get overturned and they think it should be, and then there's going to be this complete whole debate going back and forth about it.
Yeah. It brings up the debate, of course, of the instant replay being integrated to football, and if that is something to keep an eye on, especially if these are more repetitive occasions, where it's difficult to tell if it's really a red or if it's not a red. America has had several appeals that have not been, accepted. Some of them have been accepted. Sambuesas is accepted. Now, of course, it's crucial now because we're talking about Clásico Nacional. We're not talking about that America's going to play, Chiapas next weekend. No, America's going to play against Chivas. So it gets more news, more reflection on it. And I think that brings up all the debate. But, with Sambuesa on the pitch, America wins a lot. It wins stability, because without Sambuesa, they do lose a sense of stability.
True. All right, wrapping up our Liga MX segment, Tom, Naib, I'm going to give it to Tom. Two different topics. Number one, Cruz Azul finally wins Santos with Chepo debut, or should we go with Xolos not being able to beat the easiest team, which is Necaxa? Tom, you pick a topic. If you don't, whatever topic you don't pick, Naib's got to talk about. That's how it is in the Mexican Soccer Show.
It looks like we lost
Tom,
voice now.
We can't hear you. Did you change mics? Turn on? No. I saw you changing something. This is what happens. Tom is like, I think he can hear us, though. All right, well, as soon as Tom fixes his mic and we can hear him, Naib, then you get to pick. So, Xolos not getting the win. This is the team that everyone was talking about. Or should we go with Cruz Azul finally getting a win with Santos and Chepo de la Torre getting a loss for his debut?
Well, I think it's the Cruz Azul Santos, because I had a chance to be at that game. So I saw everything that happened. And, I was behind the bench, so I saw what the coaches were doing. With Chepo, it was kind of strange at the beginning of the match because he just kept smiling. Never seen Chepo smile so much, at like a span. So for me, that was a sight to see, a sight to behold. See Chepo smile on repetitive occasions, and then of course, when Cruz Azul got its second goal, when it was 2-1, when it was 2-0, I think Joao Rojas' goal, Tomás Boy's celebration was fantastic because he looked at the crowd and he just started making boxing moves like he was punching a bag or something. So I mean, that to see it, I mean, I think that in itself sort of reflects a little bit of the Liga MX folklore that makes it special, that makes it different from other leagues. You just don't see a coach just all of a sudden just making fist bumps and stuff like that. But yeah, it's important for Cruz Azul to get the win. It's important. It's important for Cristaldo to get goals. It's important for Joao Rojas to get goals. And Santos has a lot of work to do. I mean, I think that the pace that Santos is going, I don't see Santos in the Liguilla. It's going to take a while for Chepo to get it together over there in Torreon.
All right, Tom, did we get you back? Nope. He's not back. See if you can reset, come back in the same way you came back in, Tom. I don't know what you changed. I saw you fiddling with some kind of mic. We'll get you back in there. Then hopefully you can come back and join us. Naive, anything else from Liga MX? Obviously, El Clásico Nacional, which we'll talk a little bit after previewing what could be the next weekend. Pero algo más de la Liga MX to watch out for? Monarcas, still, going up there is on fire, but they did beat, a Chiapas team where we haven't seen the best of. Still making a case for having a good season so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think with Chiapas, the dilemma in Chiapas is a striker situation. But they brought in this Jonathan Fabro, a Paraguayan Argentinian, and he's scoring in the goals. He's putting in the goals for Chiapas. It was a 3-2 result. With Morelia, I think what's special is Raul Diaz and Jefferson Cuero got a brace. So it's a really offensive team, Monarcas, especially at home. But they also showed some great showings at away games. The game against America at Azteca was interesting because Morelia never looked lost in the game. They were really positive about getting a result in Mexico City at Estadio Azteca. And yeah, I mean, Toluca started the season slow, but slowly they're getting there. They're getting the goals. Alexis Vega has gotten good performances so far with Toluca, the young Mexican forward to keep an eye on, and I think that will be interesting to look forward to.
Yeah, no, definitely. And before we leave, León ganó por fin. Little pressure off Luis Fernando Tena. In which I got the chance to kind of look at what happened. Just a perfect play, Montes to Elias Hernandez to Boselli. It looks like it's working, at least kind of un respiro para los aficionados de León, but we'll see if this kind of keeps going. But Liga MX coming back, and speaking of coming back, Tom.
Let's see.
Hi, Tom. Nope.
El micrófono.
No, something's up with the mic. Tom, what if you don't use that mic? What if you use your computer's microphone? He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna type, and we'll do that. So, Tom, for the third time, we can't hear you, sir. All right. Everyone's been talking about the Europeos that started, and Memo Ochoa finally gets his debut, which from what it looked like, had a few good saves in the first half. Big steps, no controversies, no other keepers going in front of him, Naive, right? And it looks like we might see him stay in the keeper's job this season. What do you think?
I think with Ochoa, we saw this is something that I've observed. I mean, I think this guy really wants to see the support, from the coach, and he's getting it from Paco Gemes. I think starting in the first league match shows the intentions that Gemes has with Ochoa. When Ochoa feels that trust and sort of confidence from the coach, he does great things. I mean, look at 2014 with Piojo Herrera. He could have selected Corona because Corona had done well, but he selected Ochoa, and look what happened over there in Brazil. So when he gets that vote of confidence from the coach, I think he can do great. And look, Paco Gemes is a coach that is really similar to Osorio. Osorio is a huge admirer of Paco Gemes' coaching because it assimilates to Marcelo Bielsa and Pep Guardiola. And so what does that mean? If Ochoa starts in Paco Gemes' Granada, more than likely Ochoa will be the starter as long as Juan Carlos Osorio is a Mexico national team head coach. I mean, that's how I see it. And hopefully it stays like that.
Hopefully it does stay like that in the way that he comes back. All right. What else in the Europeos? Usually Cesar is on to give us an update, but we saw a couple of, obviously, the Mexican starts, and we see that I have to point out Raul Jimenez and his, I have yet to see Raul Jimenez miss a PK. I don't know why he doesn't take him in there. His goal celebration, people were talking about it, but Raul Jimenez starting, not starting.
We got Tom back.
Tom's back.
Yeah.
Something's up with that. But Raul Jimenez with a good start, coming in as a sub, and is able to score, right?
Yeah. The only thing I'd say is that he needs to be starting these games now. You know what I mean? Hopefully the goal, is from the penalty spot. He's a penalty expert, Raul Jimenez. There's not many better players that at penalties than Raul Jimenez. But at this point in his career, now 25 years old, you're playing for Benfica in the Portuguese league. I think that you want to be starting games. You know what I mean? So hopefully, with that goal, last season he only started 8 games in the Portuguese First Division. He needs to be doing more than that. These players that are on the fringe of the national team, on the fringe of being starters. Osorio said he really likes Jimenez as well. He needs to be now stepping it up a level. I think we have to say the same about the guys at Porto as well. I think this is the season now. Tecatito has got to be going from that really having a good season to being a standout. You know what I mean? And I think the other worry is Layun at the minute, because he did start at the weekend, but massive game for Porto tomorrow against Roma. I thought they were outplayed for the first 30 minutes until the red card in the first leg. I thought they were a bit lucky with that. But going over there now to Estadio Olimpico, over there in Rome, and that's a massive result. So hopefully Herrera can really step up, Tecatito can make an impact, and we're going to see Porto and the Mexicans there make the Champions League.
All 3 are confirmed to be, sí los convocaron for tomorrow, pero lo que dices el Ayun, a lot of people, I think you got some backlash there, and we talked about it going to in Guadalajara. Him not starting that game I think is huge, because yes, he did start the weekend game, but he's needed, and we're going to see tomorrow whether that continues. And I have a feeling that he's not going to start because he started over the weekend, and the coach just kind of wants to see that he's not in his game. From what it is,
but the other guy was suspended the other left back was suspended. Tejes, no? Alex Tejes, the Brazilian. So he's come in this season as the left back at Porto, and obviously with Nuno Espiritu now the new coach, and it seems like the Nuno's prefers Tejes in comparison to Layun, and maybe it goes back to the left foot right foot thing with Layun a right-footed left back. The same with Osorio. But the other one for Porto that I think we should definitely mention is the guy who's not even making the squads right now, who is Diego Reyes.
Yeah.
He just desperately needs. I don't know what's happened there. It's difficult to understand what's happened because he had a good season.
Yeah, I mean, with Reyes, the Porto got him from America, and we thought that he was going to develop there. I mean, Porto is known to develop great center backs in the last years. If you think about Pepe going to Real Madrid, was one of the first ones. Then Mangala going from Porto to Manchester City. Otamendi he went from Porto to Valencia, and then from Valencia to Manchester City. Those are 3 great center backs, and Reyes hasn't been able to fall through. I mean, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's something about his maturity or his lack of consistency. Maybe in Europe, I think that's something that is really hurting Reyes. We know he has some skills, but he hasn't been able to show it in Europe.
Cool. Yeah.
Sure. And I mean, I just kind of think that you're talking about those type of players that are coming in, but I think sometimes we set the high, and I don't want to set the bar high. We obviously Rafa Marquez and Moreno, but it's like we keep wanting Reyes to be that player and put in pressure. I mean, he's up there, and hopefully he keeps playing, and then all of a sudden Reyes starts playing, and we're like, everything is fine. I feel like our Mexicans that are playing in Europe right now, except aside maybe Chicharito and Guardado that solidified on the team, are just kind of like in this up and down. They got to keep doing it. It's not a secured spot that we're there.
Yeah, and real quick, on a good point that you put up there, we'll see what happens with Reyes. He could move back to Real Sociedad, which I think would help him, because in Real Sociedad he did get a lot of minutes with the head coach Eusebio Sacristan over there in San Sebastián. So I think that could potentially help him. And one of the consistents, don't forget Héctor Moreno, Guardado, and Chicharito are the consistent ones.
Chicharito scoring in what we're seeing on there. But the big news of Europeos is our brand new Europeo that we're seeing on there coming on Saturday. I think they broke the story and confirming. I think it was Eric from Univision, and then John Sutcliffe at ESPN was able to to break the story that Carlos Salcedo, and we'll spend some time in right now because I know, Naive, you got a chance to talk to him and interview him. Tom, you've known, obviously his family as Salcedo's, dad has always been vocal about where he's going or what's happening, and it's a player that we've definitely been following since the MLS. For me, I think Salcedo's playing at his worst this year and is able to make that transfer. So the promotor, whoever it was able to kind of look at feedback. I thought he was an excellent player when he was right after the MLS, when we even saw him in the national team. But where did this come from? I was joking with Martin del Palacio when he was saying, wow, this could be one of the worst summers for Mexican transfers. And I said, you never know, because some random guy that we didn't think could get transferred is going to get transferred. And here it is. Tom, you're in Guadalajara. We're both mentioning that maybe some of the Chivas guys are not wanting to let Salcedo go, but big news, especially for how young this kid is, and the contract. I mean, in the millions that are on there for a 22, 23-year-old, right? 22 years old,
22, yeah.
to go to Italy. This is pretty big news and historic because we haven't had so many Mexicans in Italia.
No, it's a big move. It's a big challenge for Carlos Salcedo. It's not going to be easy at Fiorentina, but I think he's done enough. I think he's good enough. I think in the first half of the year he did have a bit of a dip in form. He's had a lot of problems off the field, with his family, relationship with his family. But basically what happened with Salcedo is he had a clause in his contract which said that if a European team meets this reasonable clause, then he can go. And that's what happened. I mean, it's simple as that. We saw it with Marco Fabian as well, a similar clause. They put a similar clause in his contract, and he goes as well. So, that's the interesting side of it. It's actually another interesting thing. It's an American agent who's done the deal.
Yeah.
So it's the
no more of his family, right?
No, I mean not just his family. He had other people working. Salcedo had other people working for him as an agent, but it's interesting because it's quite the way agents work in Mexico is quite closed. It's really difficult for foreigners to get in, and not just foreigners, but other Mexicans to kind of start representing players without knowing the big guys. So it's interesting from that regard as well. But yeah, I mean, the other thing I want to point out is that Salcedo I interviewed, I think, before he was really even established at Real Salt Lake. He was still kind of in the youth system at Real Salt Lake. And one of my lines, I went back and looked at my story, and it says Salcedo's plan is to make the Olympic Games and play in Europe. And it's unbelievable. He's done exactly that, and I've got a lot of respect for him for doing that. He's made the move to Chivas, consolidating himself as one of the best Mexican defenders, and now he's made that move. Is it a risky move? Yeah, because it's not going to be easy at all to get into a decent Fiorentina team. But let's see. He's put himself in the in the window now. He's made the move, and now let's see what he's made of. And I think that his personality is very strong, and I'd back him to do well over there.
I'm a little hesitant, and I'll be the one to say I'm naive about the Italian game because I don't watch it. I don't pay attention to it. And practically, I mean, partly it could be because I feel like the games, and I guess I have high standards on games. I want goals and a very defensive type of mindset. But if I don't see Salcedo, and like I said, I don't know a lot about the Italian game, but is this too much for what he's playing and what I've seen in the last year? Naive. I mean, we've seen his talent, we've seen what he can do, but I just see
this is a kind of a personal point of view. But when I see some players, when I see them on the pitch and see how they move and the decisions that they take, sometimes I can sort of define, well, this guy has potential. When I saw Salcedo for the first time with Chivas, even after all this blah 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 that was said that he was Americanista and all that pressure, he showed up to Chivas and he just crushed it. I mean, I think there were games where he did look weak, but for the most part, I think his record in Chivas was great. I mean, I think at the center back position, Pereira and Salcedo, those were the two center backs. At a point, Alanis got a little bit. Alanis got injured, but I think Salcedo, he's had a career that is so different to the Mexican footballer, because this guy didn't stay in Mexico at Tigres where he could have stayed, like Briseño, like Pollo Briseño. No, he went to Salt Lake, and he developed over there. And he also, he had great mentors like Beckerman. People can say like, oh, Beckerman, but Beckerman has been playing for 17 years. That guy is endless.
I feel like you're making like the way that he played in the MLS and the different type of style he's playing.
He has two styles, I think.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing that aspect of Salcedo being a different player, el rudo that'll go out. I mean, that's what I like about him. He can come back and be like, if he needs to foul, he'll foul, and it's that type of player. But is that really going to get him through to be a solid player in the Fiorentina?
No, I mean, it's challenge.
He has to step up. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, you don't just go from the Mexican league to the Italian league and it'd be smooth. I mean, it is the biggest challenge of his career so far. Bigger than playing for the Mexican national team, bigger than moving to Chivas. There's no doubt about it. But this goes back to what Osorio wants from these young players. He wants them to accept that challenge, take it on, and then some of them to get over it. Some of them won't do. You know what I mean? We're seeing like Diego Reyes now struggling a little bit. We've seen players in the past, Barrera, Efrain Juarez, struggle to make to adapt to life in Europe. And now Salcedo's put himself in there, and it's exactly what Osorio wants. And Osorio will be hoping that Salcedo is the first of at least a couple more. I mean, we saw the other day Jürgen Damm. He came out and said on Televisa, I think it was after the Tigres game against Pachuca, and he said, Wolfsburg have made me the offer, but Tigres won't accept the offer. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's stopping the player going. But what I don't understand, and maybe, only an agent can really knows the answer to this, but I don't understand why more Mexican players aren't inserting that clause, saying, you know what, $5 million, $7 million, $5 million, if a European team pays that for me, then I'm off. Obviously, it's different with Dan because Tigres have already paid $10 million for him, and he's on the bench. So it's difficult to then ask a Wolfsburg from the Bundesliga to come in and say, oh yeah, pay me 11. When he's on the bench.
I mean, this one's interesting, I think, overall, because if we compare the Salcedo move to, let's say, the Tecatito move, and the Tecatito's actually, his agent is from the Netherlands, I think, Matthias Bunch, I think is his name. I don't know if he's from the Netherlands or Argentina, but I think he's actually extranjero, but he's really into the Mexican game. He's probably good friends with Teclos. I think here Salcedo's move, I do like that it's a loan option, because it makes them go with the challenge. It's like, I got to go and I got to prove myself. It's not like Reyes that went to Porto and was a buy, straight up. You got a year and make the best out of that year. Fiorentina's in 3 tournaments. It's in the league, the cup, and the Europa League. He will get some playing time, at least in the cup, so.
A couple of the things. Firstly, Paulo Sousa, who's the manager there at Fiorentina, Portuguese, he plays regular with three central defenders. So Salcedo, one of the things that he's got about his game, he plays on the left side of the defense for Chivas. So he can play anywhere along that back three, which is obviously massive. The other thing is that I've been looking at a few of the journalists on based in Guadalajara here, and the other question is, how much do Fiorentina actually know about Salcedo? And there's been questions raised about that, and that's why the loan deal, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But regardless, the challenge it's a challenge whether they bought him outright or it's a loan deal. But yeah, you're right, Naib. And he said, my next 2 challenges, get bought by Fiorentina and be at the next World Cup as a regular for the national team. Fair play, like I said when I interviewed him like 3 years ago, he said his challenges are Olympics in Europe, and his next challenges are that, and great. It's great to hear somebody with that ambition. And Salcedo, what I like about him as well, he consistently said, I want to play in Europe, I want to play in Europe. He speaks English, he's already lived in the States and stuff, so I think if you look at him, I think he's a good example of someone who, given time, it might not happen instantly, I think is going to succeed over there.
And he's only 22. He's basically the same age as Diego Reyes. I mean, this is it will be interesting to see. What if Salcedo just arrives in Italy and right away clicks? and then you would ask yourself, well, why really is taking so
You've
long?
been wanting Salcedo to succeed. I remember sitting next to you at that game against the U.S. Man, it's all you talked about. I'm just kidding, man. No, we all hope for Salcedo to succeed, and give us, just like on the chat said, if you want to be a great defender, go to Italy. So hopefully we can definitely see those games, those Serie A games, and on TV now. I wonder who's gonna sign. What TV company is like crazy right now going to trying to get those games so we can get some mad cash, especially in sponsorship deals, to try to get it, especially in the U.S. and because right now I don't see anybody in the U.S. Covering Fiorentina, or that we're seeing very often. So interesting stuff. All right, guys. Marco Fabian not playing, and we'll leave it at that to end the Europeos talk. Especially over this weekend, and we'll see that.
Let's go speak to him this week, actually.
You got to speak to him?
No, I'm hoping to. I think it's going to happen, so we'll see. Ahead of the Bundesliga opening, but fingers crossed.
All right, well, we'll definitely see Tom speaking to Mr. Marquitos Fabian. Naib, I think Tecatito's agent is from Argentina. I heard him speak. Yeah, I heard him speak in a while back.
Tecatito.
I think Bunch also has Reyes. He has Reyes and Tecatito.
Let's see. I actually have.
He has a lot of the youngsters actually.
I have his number actually.
Oh.
So watch out. I'm gonna call him, getting him on. All right, guys. Let's talk El Tri. Pancho Villa's army on the chat has been like waiting for it. Sergio, I'm sure if you're on the handle, he's like, quit talking Liga MX. There's a Mexico game coming up. Why isn't no one talking about it? Let's turn on our conspiracy theories, Naive. And I tweeted a week ago, and it started from this. I'm saying, it's usually 20 days before an international game, FIFA, with the FIFA dates. The players. The FMF has to send a letter to all the teams saying, hey, we want to make sure to call these guys up, get ready, it's in 20 days. You have to give a notice, 20-day notice, in order for a player to get called up for the national team during a FIFA date. And I tweeted out, we should have already heard something on these Europeos, something coming up. And we didn't leave anything about it. The list, from what Tom says, may be coming out on Wednesday, possibly tomorrow if we're a surprise. I was saying Thursday of the two games that are coming up.
I bet it's going to be most likely Wednesday, possibly Thursday.
Yeah. So the list is going to come up. So now we're kind of like done. And Naib just kind of brought up a good point when we were doing a pre-show, kind of talking about it. What if Osorio's only calling Mexican players, and that's it?
Liga MX.
Liga MX are Mexican players. Liga MX players, and they've already qualified to the. Obviously, they already gotten to the next round. It's what's looking to be maybe the U.S. coming up in November. The Europeos are barely starting the season. Do we really want to come over and either they get injured if we don't really need them? Would this be in Castle Ruckus or something, especially after the display of what happened with the 7-1? Is this a good thing if only Liga MX players are called up? Or are we just kind of like, no, we just haven't heard anything about it? Tom, let's hear it.
I don't know. I don't know. The other thing is I always found it ridiculous that the clubs were tweeting out before the national team anyway. So, I think it's perfectly possible that Osorio has spoken to him and said, hey, you know what, like, keep this under wraps until, we give out the squad, because it doesn't happen in other places either. Don't
the clubs kind of say, here are the people, good luck with their, the FIFA dates? It's not just Mexico. They have the roster of players. It's not just Mexico.
Yeah, maybe it could be that the season just started, for example, in Spain, and also Portugal has 2 weeks, and Germany's barely going to start. And also, Porto, for example, is involved in Champions League, so maybe they don't have time to be thinking about, let's congratulate our Mexican players who are going to play for El Tri in the fantastic, really tough CONCACAF games, that are ahead. I think it could be the case. I think he needs to have the best squad available, because I think they got to go over a lot of things, and it's really important these dates, because there's not that much pressure going on at the moment. You got time to analyze.
There's a lot of pressure.
Well, it's not hexagonal yet. I think the hexagonal will be the pressure. Right now, it's sort of.
This is the worst summer. I mean, let's just say he loses the next game.
Mm, I don't
Come
think so.
on, there's pressure. There's pressure. He loses the first game.
I love that he's just there thinking about it.
He loses that first game. It's why am I drawing a blank? El Salvador or Honduras first?
Honduras.
Honduras.
El Salvador.
No, it's in El Salvador.
Yeah.
In El Salvador. It's hard winning in Central America. And El Salvador hasn't had the summer Mexico has. They go in there and just lose, or even if they would have had a great squad and lose this game, it's a hard game to beat, in El Salvador, especially everything that happens in El Salvador with, the night before and the las instalaciones aren't great,
True.
Everything, the pitch, everything. He loses this game, comes back to the Azteca against Honduras, who, let me just say, Honduras just had, although a bad finish in the Olympics, right? Coming back, and who knows, what if that squad is and I don't know if it's already been called, especially for that game, and how many players from that Olympic squad is in there.
I think about 8.
And you bring that momentum from Honduras has, and especially the way Mexico, and let's just say I lost, El Azteca is going to turn around on Osorio, and here comes the pressure going into the hexagonal when the U.S. is announced for November. Like, here comes 3 big games for Mexico. They can all start with El Salvador if they lose in El Salvador. So that first game is going to be huge.
So that's why I think that he has to get his best players.
Best players. I agree.
Yeah, he can do the Liga MX thing. I mean, if he does that, it's going to look really strange, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 ways of looking at it. I don't know. I mean, I think the other thing is at some point he's going to want to get the same players from the 7-0. I mean, Mexico isn't as blessed as, in Argentina, where you can get rid of players. I mean, the players that played that game are going to be called back. It's not like, you're going to be like, oh, Guardado had a bad game, he's not playing again.
Yeah.
Who had a good game? Todos están castigados because of the horrible display. You know what? Me too, as Osorio. Bring in the backups for everybody.
No. To bring in, though, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there is. Chivas. They're all Mexican. Bring him in. I think he should have everybody, and I feel like everyone's going to be called. But we like to,
But the other argument is that they played the Copa America. They're just starting the season in Europe. It's a huge journey to El Salvador, from Europe. It's a difficult trip. We know they've got FIFA dates in October, FIFA dates in November. You know what I mean? If there is a moment to
play New Zealand, Tom.
Not call these off. Yeah, it's against New Zealand. But I mean, the commercial side of that is going to demand Chicharito. I mean, it's going to be difficult to say no to Chicharito. And then going back, next summer you've got Confederations and Gold Cup again. You know what I mean? So I'm in 2 minds, me. I think on one hand, you want him there, you want to just talk to him, train with him, see where they're at mentally moving forward. And then the other hand, because I don't think they're going to lose against El Salvador. El Salvador have been pretty bad recently. They have been pretty bad. And Honduras at home, you have to back Mexico to win that. But so I think 2 minds really. One hand, you want him there. The other hand, it's been a long summer. Maybe they're better off just sticking there, having a few days break from the club teams.
Completely disagree. Bring this team back that did a horrible job against Chile. Bring him back and start having these guys believe in that they can win again. Bring the leaders back. Show Osorio we need this. I can't just have if Osorio doesn't call the best to this game because we underestimating El Salvador, and great, yeah, El Salvador maybe is horrible and it's not doing a great job, but this is a team to go into El Salvador and win 5-0 will bring confidence back from a horrible 7-0 loss. That's how you make sure you have a team, and I think not calling the leaders to be here is going to and then expect them to play in a game in the U.S. against New Zealand or another team that's going to be named. And then finally coming up the hexagonal, I think we need those teams. And if they don't, I think Osorio and the FMF are just risking it. Now you're about to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's difficult with the Mexican player. I mean, the last years have been really turbulent, erratic. What happened let's think about it. What happened in 2013 is the same players right now. A big chunk of them, it's still the same one. I mean, they could go from amazing performances in a World Cup and then just fall like they did in
No,
2000.
there was no strikers.
No,
Raúl wasn't there. Peralta wasn't there. He was hurt. Chicharito
no,
was
but is it, yeah, Guardado was in that in
Yeah,
2013.
Tecatito wasn't there.
Peralta, Moreno. These are the like when Layun came after Piojo. But I mean, I think here is how much power does Osorio have? Because the players can be like, hey, the players can be what Tom said. I mean, I just barely started my season. I want to get
No.
adapt to this new role in the team that I have, because it has happened. It has happened with Mexican players.
Yeah, not after 7-0. Not after a horrible
we'll see
display.
how they
I
react.
think the players want to come back. I think they want to make the journey. I know it's a long journey or whatever. I think the players feel so embarrassed, and it was our fault and what they went through with what happened 7-0. I think they want to come back and show that it was just a bad. Everything went kind of wrong, even though Chile did win the Copa America. But at the same time, I think they're going to want to come back and show that leadership, especially show their faces. And yeah, it's going to be a lose-lose situation because even if Mexico wins, well, they were horrible. El Salvador was horrible. But then coming back Honduras and the Azteca getting things done. So we're not going to see that until probably November when we face the U.S. finally. Mexico is going to be validated for that 7-0 win. And be careful if Mexico loses, when's the last time we won in Columbus? Never. So get ready. I don't know. I could see Osorio not being in charge by the end of the year.
Yes, let's try to be optimistic today. I mean, this is already.
I'm sorry, I was just not.
This is already turning too depressing. Two weeks in a row. Come on, man.
There is a conclusion though. I mean, there is, and it goes back. We're talking about this game, and that is he going to call the big players? Is he not? I mean, I think someone like Osorio, you just don't know what he's going to do. I mean, you really don't know. I mean, the way that he looks at the kind of the physical condition of the players and the travel and how many the load of games they've got. I mean, I don't know. I can't see the European players. For example, Chicharito. Considering he's playing Champions League, playing German Cup, Bundesliga. I can't see him coming for all three, and he's definitely going to be coming for November. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I mean, where does? Come on, they're not Rafa Marquez, Messi. How many games did he play in 1 year? These are players. They should come. It's okay. They sleep on the way there, anyways. It's okay. No. I get your point, Tom. I get your point. I get your point. I'm just heated. All right. Well, aside from obviously who's calling up, the list is going to come out. It's going to come out this week. Tom says it's around Wednesday that we're seeing that. We already talked a little bit about the surprises that are going on that we might be able to see. Anybody else that you guys are seeing might be first-time call-up that, if anyone, obviously, Cesar Montes, I definitely want to see more.
Yeah. Montes, I think, is up there. I think the interesting ones, not just in Liga MX, but the interesting ones are going to be Giovanni Dos Santos. Has he done enough in MLS? Is he ready? Is he committed? Does he want to do it? I mean, Giovanni said he'd like to come back. He'd like to play for Mexico again. Osorio said the door's open for him. And obviously the old the old favorite Carlos Vela. I mean, started on a bench for Real Sociedad against Real Madrid. Is that? I mean, I don't think they're going to be called up. But I think if there's the one who's got more chances is Giovanni.
Giovanni comes back.
Did they want it? Did they want it? You know what I mean? And I think this game for those players is the perfect time to bring them in.
Yeah, so they can look.
Because what? If you want to play for this national team,
Giovanni comes back.
If you want to play for this national team, come down to San Salvador. You know what I mean? Come down and play down there, not just in the nice, the United States. Let's go Los Angeles, chill out. Go San Salvador and see if you really want it.
I'm telling you, Giovanni's going to be the savior. He chose. He's like, I'm not going to play that game. I know what's going to happen against Chile. And he didn't. It's like Vela. It's like Vela, and Vela's like, no, I'm not going to come in 2013. I know the crap that's going to happen. And look what happened. Then he comes back, does great. Then Giovanni's like, no, I'm not going to play in that Copa America. And look what happened. Just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there.
No, I mean we can end up seeing a call-up that includes players like Cándido Ramírez and Jürgen Damm. Let's keep in mind Jürgen Damm was in the final list for the Copa América Centenario, but then he got injured and couldn't play. He scored a goal over there in San Pedro Sula. So I mean he is a player that is way up there for Osorio, I think. Yeah.
And then let's hope Chucky Lozano, whatever has happened to him in the Olympics, hopefully it's not anything that we. Hopefully it was just a bad 3 games or wherever it's at, because we've seen the quality of this player and what we saw, and hopefully by the end of the month we've seen some other transfers, right, Tom? I mean, Chucky Lozano.
Let's see. Let's see Lozano. Let's see if Pachuca get rid of any of the players. But Pachuca are difficult to negotiate with. I think Jose Luis Higuera from Chivas was saying. I mean, it was just a stupid comment, but he's like, we give our players the opportunity to go to Europe, and we don't put stupid prices on the Reds. So, but Pachuca, their kind of measuring stick is Herrera, and I can't remember the figure. How much was it for Herrera? But it was
more than 10 million. Yeah, more than 10 million. Definitely.
So they're thinking, okay, so if Herrera's gone for that much, then Lozano, we want at least that. I mean, I think that's their mentality when they're negotiating.
It's true. All right, guys, an hour has passed easily. We can keep going and talking about more. The Olympics are finished. They're gone. People can pay attention to Liga MX now. We had a big Olympic discussion last week, Naive and I. But all right, guys, what's coming up? Excuse me. The list, and we'll probably have a Clásico Nacional that's coming up in the. It's going to start getting heated. And Chivas, obviously trying to make that statement. America playing great football at the moment. We'll have a preview at the end of the week, probably Thursday. I'll start getting ready to go to the DF to cover that game and see my friend Naive, and bring you all of that. But it should be fun, interesting week. We have champions tomorrow. Important game for the guys teams, both teams that are going to be there. So lots of stuff during the week, and keep it here with Mexican Soccer. So go ahead, Nate.
And really important. I mean, I think for Porto, for especially for Portri, for Layun, Herrera, and Tecatito, it's important to play Champions League. Yeah. Because I do accept Europa League is also challenging, but if they have a chance to get into the Champions League group stage at least, that's great for them because it does boost their level.
Well, if you remember Porto a year ago, I mean, we're watching, great Porto.
Bayern, yeah.
So let's
quick thing just on that topic. We've heard this rumor about Herrera and Napoli, Herrera going to Italy. If Porto go out tomorrow, I think that rumor is going to come back.
Yeah, that could. And also another one that I don't know how much it's working out. But for example, Arsenal's looking for a center back. Mustafi is from Valencia. They're looking at Mustafi, who's at Valencia, but Valencia already said that they're not selling Mustafi. Does that open the door for Moreno? He's already a proven center back. He's out. He could be out there in the market. His agent already pulled a great deal with Pogba with Manchester United. So what is that? Can it happen? Maybe it's a hopeful thinking, wishful thinking.
Cesar Montes
you never know.
Arsenal. Bam. All right, guys. Well passed. Thanks everyone on the chat. I was laughing so hard with Joel saying that he ordered the I'm gonna totally butcher his joke. I'm trying to find it. He went to the taqueria and ordered the siete de asadas in Chile. Dang, that hurts. All right, guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. We'll give you all of the updates on Mexican soccer. Lots and lots of content at the Mexican Soccer Show account on Twitter from all of us, from different. If you have not subscribed to Jason Marco's Soccer Mexicana newsletter by email, we'll email after the show. Definitely do that. And lots of things happening with FootMex Nation. Say a little shout out to our intern Amy, who is live tweeting right now. Gracias, Amy, for all that you're doing. But keep it here with the Mexican Soccer Show. We'll have a lot of fun this weekend. Send us your questions. The email is on our Twitter page. Hasta luego. Tom, thank you very much. Naive, nos vemos el viernes. And to you guys, thank you for watching. See you on the next episode of the Mexican Soccer Show.